My name is Daniel Carter. I said those words quietly when our professor asked everyone to introduce themselves on the first day of the semester. My voice almost disappeared under the noise of the classroom. "Speak up, man," someone behind me joked. I cleared my throat. "I'm Daniel Carter, business major." "That's it?" the professor asked. I nodded and sat down quickly. Talking in front of people was never my strength. I preferred silence. Silence never judged me. Ryan Miller leaned over from the next seat and whispered, "You talk like someone forced you to be alive." I smiled a little. Maybe they did. Ryan chuckled. "Relax, dude. College isn't prison." Before I could reply, the classroom door opened again. And that was the moment everything changed. A girl walked in, slightly out of breath. "Sorry I'm late," she said. Her voice was soft but clear. The professor nodded. "Name?" "Emily Harper." That name stayed in my mind like a song. She took a seat 2 rows ahead of me. I didn't mean to stare, but I couldn't stop myself. Ryan noticed immediately. "Oh," he whispered. "I see what's happening." "What?" I asked. "You're staring like you just discovered oxygen." "I'm not staring." "You absolutely are." I looked down at my notebook quickly. Ryan grinned. "Who is she?" "I don't know." "Then why do you look like someone just stole your heart?" "I don't," I muttered. But he wasn't wrong. Over the next few weeks, I kept noticing Emily everywhere. At the library. In the cafeteria. In the hallway between classes. Sometimes she laughed with her friends, and that laugh made my chest feel strange. One afternoon I saw her helping another student with notes. "Here," she said kindly. "You can borrow mine." "Thank you," the girl replied. "No problem," Emily said with a smile. Ryan nudged me. "You're doing it again." "Doing what?" "That look." "What look?" "The I'm completely gone look." I sighed. "Ryan, stop." He leaned back in his chair. "Just talk to her." "No." "Why not?" "Because." "That's not a reason." "It is to me." Ryan crossed his arms. "Listen, man. If you like her, just say something." "What if she doesn't like me back?" "Then at least you'll know." "I'd rather not know." Ryan laughed. "You're unbelievable." A few days later, something unexpected happened. I was standing in line at the campus cafe when I heard a familiar voice. "Hey, Daniel." I turned around quickly. Emily Harper was standing behind me. My brain froze. Hi." She smiled. "You're in my economics class, right?" "Yeah." "I thought so," she said. "You always sit near Ryan." "Yeah," I replied again, feeling stupid. She laughed softly. "You're really quiet." "I guess." "That's not a bad thing," she said. For a moment we just stood there. Then she said, "Are you ready for the exam next week?" "Not really." "Same," she admitted. "I'm already stressed." Ryan suddenly appeared beside me like a ghost. "Oh wow," he said dramatically. "Daniel actually has friends now." "Ryan," I groaned. Emily laughed. "You must be Ryan." "Guilty," he said. "And you must be Emily." "That's me." Ryan looked at me with a smirk. "Daniel talks about class a lot," he said carefully. I kicked his foot. He ignored me. Emily smiled again. "Well, it was nice talking to you guys." "You too," I said quickly. She grabbed her coffee and waved. "See you in class." As she walked away, Ryan slowly turned toward me. "You're finished," he said. "What does that mean?" "You're in love." "I am not." "You are absolutely in love." "I just met her." Ryan shook his head. "No, man. You noticed her weeks ago." I stared at the table. Maybe he was right. Later that day we sat under a tree near campus. Ryan looked at me seriously. "So tell me the truth." "About what?" "How long have you liked her?" I hesitated. Then I said quietly, "Since the first day." Ryan whistled. "Wow. I know it's stupid." It's not stupid, he said. It's normal. I just don't want to ruin things. What things? The small conversations. The smiles. Ryan leaned forward. Daniel, listen carefully. Okay. If you never tell her, someone else will. I stayed silent. He continued. You'll watch her date another guy while you pretend you're okay. That sounds painful. It will be. I looked toward the campus cafe across the lawn. Emily was walking with friends, laughing again. My chest felt warm and heavy at the same time. Ryan followed my gaze. There it is again, he said. What? That look. What look? He smiled. The look of someone who already lost his heart. Ryan dropped his backpack on the table and looked at me like a coach staring at a lazy player. So, he said, have you told her yet? Told who? I asked, pretending to read my notes. Daniel. What? Emily. I sighed. No. Ryan leaned closer. Why not? Because I like breathing. That makes no sense. It does to me. Ryan shook his head. You've liked her for months. I know. And she actually talks to you. I know. So what's the problem? What if she laughs? Ryan stared at me. She won't. You don't know that. He folded his arms. Daniel, listen. If you keep waiting forever, someone else will ask her out. My stomach tightened. Ryan noticed. See, he said. That thought scares you. Of course it does. Then do something about it. I looked down at the table. I don't know how. Ryan groaned loudly. Step 1, he said. You walk up to her. Terrifying. Step 2, you say how you feel. More terrifying. Step 3, he continued. You stop overthinking. That part sounds impossible. Ryan laughed. Man, you're hopeless. A few days later I sat alone in the campus cafe, staring at my coffee. Ryan suddenly dropped into the chair across from me. Good news, he announced. I'm afraid to ask. I've decided something. That's always dangerous. You're confessing. What? This week. No. Yes. No. Ryan pointed at me. Yes. Ryan. You're doing it. I rubbed my forehead. You're bullying me. I'm helping you. Feels like bullying. Ryan leaned back. Daniel, answer honestly. What? Do you like Emily? Yes. Do you want to date her? Yes. Then tell her. I stared at my coffee again. What if she says no? Then life continues, Ryan said simply. That night I sat at my desk at home, staring at a blank piece of paper. My pen hovered over it. What am I even writing? I muttered. The door suddenly opened. My sister walked in. Why do you look like you're about to write your last will? She asked. Sophia, knock. I did. You didn't. She crossed her arms. What's wrong with you? Nothing. You've been weird all week. I'm always weird. True, she admitted. But this is different. I sighed. Sophia sat on my bed. Daniel, she said gently, talk to me. I looked at the paper. There's a girl. Sophia smiled instantly. Oh, this is good. It's terrifying. What's her name? Emily. Do you like her? Yes. Does she know? No. Sophia nodded slowly. So that's the problem. I want to tell her. Then tell her. I'm scared. Sophia laughed softly. Daniel, everyone is scared. That doesn't help. She leaned forward. Listen to me. Okay. If she's the right girl, Sophia said, she'll respect your feelings. What if she doesn't feel the same? Then at least you were brave enough to try. I stayed quiet. Sophia looked at the blank paper. Is that a love letter? Maybe. Let me see. No. Daniel. No. She sighed dramatically. Fine, she said. But write it. I'm trying. You've been staring at that paper for 10 minutes. Writing feelings is hard. Sophia stood up. You'll figure it out. Before leaving, she added one more thing. Just be honest. After she left, I finally started writing. My hand moved slowly. Emily. I don't know how to say this without sounding awkward. I paused. That's already awkward, I said to myself. I tried again. Emily. I've liked you since the first day of class. You're kind, smart, and somehow you always make people feel comfortable. I kept writing for almost an hour. When I finished, my heart was racing. The next day, Ryan grabbed the letter immediately. You actually wrote one? Yes. Dude, this is serious. I know. Ryan grinned. So when's the big moment? I was thinking the campus cafe. Good choice. Maybe Friday. Ryan slapped the table. Perfect. I suddenly felt nervous again. What if I forget what to say? Ryan shrugged. Just give her the letter. What if I panic? Then I'll drag you there myself. I laughed nervously. Later that evening, I walked past a flower shop near campus. I stopped in front of the window. Why am I doing this? I whispered. But a minute later, I walked inside. The cashier smiled. Looking for something? Yes, I said. Flowers. For someone special. I nodded. She handed me a small bouquet. These are popular. I held them carefully. Thanks. That night I placed the flowers and the letter on my desk. Friday suddenly felt very close. I sat on my bed and imagined the moment. Emily standing there. Me handing her the flowers. Her reading the letter. Her smiling. Maybe saying yes. My heart beat faster just thinking about it. Then another thought appeared. What if she says no? I shook my head. Sophia's words returned to my mind. If she's the right girl, she'll respect your feelings. I took a deep breath. Okay, I whispered to myself. Friday. And for the first time, my fear and hope felt equally strong inside my chest tonight. Friday morning arrived faster than I expected. Ryan sat across from me in the campus cafe, watching me tap my fingers on the table. You look like you're about to faint, he said. I might. It's just a confession, not a surgery. You're not helping. Ryan pointed at the small bouquet on the table. You bought flowers. Yes. And you wrote the letter. Yes. Then stop panicking. I can't. Ryan leaned closer. Daniel, breathe. I inhaled slowly. There, he said. Better. Not really. Ryan suddenly looked toward the cafe entrance. Well, he said quietly, your moment just walked in. My heart jumped. I turned my head. Emily entered the cafe with two friends. Okay, Ryan whispered. This is happening. I'm not ready. You'll never be ready. I should wait. No. Ryan pushed the flowers toward me. Go. I might die. Go, he repeated. I stood up slowly, holding the flowers and the envelope. Each step felt heavy. Emily was standing near the counter, laughing with her friends. My hands started shaking. Ryan's voice came from behind me. You've got this. I walked closer. Emily, I said. She turned around. Oh, hey Daniel. Her smile made my heart race. Hi, I replied nervously. She noticed the flowers. For someone, she asked. Actually, for you. Her eyebrows lifted slightly. For me. Yeah. Her friends looked at me curiously. I swallowed. I wanted to tell you something. Okay, Emily said. My hands trembled as I gave her the bouquet and the letter. I wrote this, I said quietly. She took them slowly. What's this about? She asked. I forced myself to speak. I like you. The words felt heavy but freeing. I've liked you for a long time, I continued. I just wanted to be honest about it. For a moment she stared at me. Then something unexpected happened. Emily laughed. Not a soft laugh. A loud one. What? She said between laughs. My stomach dropped. Are you serious? Her voice sounded amused. I'm serious, I said quietly. She turned toward her friends. Olivia, she called. A girl with long blonde hair walked closer. What's going on? Emily held up the flowers. Look at this. Olivia looked at me. What? Emily waved the letter. Daniel just confessed to me. Olivia blinked. Wait, really? Before I could speak again, Emily called another name. Jason. A tall guy walked over from another table. What's happening? Emily laughed again. Look at this. She pointed at me. Daniel thinks I'd date someone like him. Olivia burst into laughter. Jason smirked. You're joking, he said. I wish I was, Emily replied. My face felt hot. People around us started looking. Daniel, Emily said, shaking the flower slightly. This is sweet, but, come on. I couldn't speak. Olivia leaned toward Emily. Did he really give you a love letter? Emily nodded. Should I read it? She asked playfully. Do it, Jason said. No, I said quickly. But Emily had already opened the envelope. She glanced at the first lines. Oh my God, she laughed. This is so dramatic. Olivia giggled. What does it say? Emily read part of it out loud. Emily, I've liked you since the first day of class. She stopped and laughed again. This is painful. Jason shook his head. Man, you actually thought she'd say yes. My chest tightened. Emily looked at me. Daniel, you're nice, she said, still smiling. But we are not, you know. She gestured at me vaguely. Compatible. Olivia laughed again. Emily, be honest. Emily sighed dramatically. Okay, fine. She pointed at me lightly. I'd never date someone like him. The words hit me like a punch. Jason chuckled. Dude aimed way too high. People nearby were watching openly now. I felt dozens of eyes on me. My throat felt dry. I tried to say something. Anything. But the words refused to come out. Emily placed the flowers back into my hands. You can give these to someone else, she said. Olivia smirked. Maybe his mom. Jason laughed loudly. My ears rang. For a moment everything felt distant. Emily folded the letter and handed it back. Don't take it personally, she said casually. My fingers slowly closed around the paper. I forced a small smile. Yeah, I said quietly. Of course. Ryan suddenly appeared beside me. His voice sounded sharp. Emily. She looked at him. What? That was unnecessary. Emily shrugged. He asked. That doesn't mean you humiliate him. Olivia rolled her eyes. Relax. Ryan turned to me. Daniel, let's go. But I stayed still for a second longer. My chest felt heavy. Emily crossed her arms. Are we done here? Jason smirked again. Yeah, Romeo. Curtain call. I looked at Emily one last time. She didn't look guilty. She looked bored. Something inside me cracked quietly. But I kept smiling. Sorry, I said softly. Forget it. Then I turned around. Ryan followed me quickly. We walked toward the exit in silence. The cafe door closed behind us. Outside, the air felt colder. Ryan looked furious. I swear I want to go back in there. Don't, I said. She had no right. It's fine. It's not fine. I stared at the ground. My hands still held the crushed flowers. Ryan's voice softened. Daniel. I'm okay. You're not. I forced another smile. It's just a rejection. Ryan looked at me carefully. Are you sure? I nodded slowly. But inside, my chest felt like something had shattered. I took a deep breath. Let's just go. Ryan hesitated. Then he nodded. We walked across campus quietly. Students passed us without noticing anything. The world continued like nothing happened. But I felt different. Heavier. Quieter. Ryan spoke again after a minute. You didn't deserve that. Maybe. No, he said firmly. Definitely not. I looked ahead at the long path across campus. I guess now I know. Know what? I exhaled slowly. That some feelings are better kept secret. Ryan didn't reply, and for the first time since I met Emily Harper, I wished I had never fallen for her at all. I stopped going to the cafe after that day. Ryan noticed immediately. "Why are you avoiding lunch?" he asked while walking beside me across campus. "I'm not avoiding it." "You absolutely are." "I just eat somewhere else." Ryan stopped walking. "You mean somewhere Emily isn't?" I didn't answer. Ryan sighed. "Daniel, you don't have to disappear." "I'm not disappearing." "You skipped 2 group hangouts." "I was busy." "You weren't." I looked at him. "I just don't feel like being around people." Ryan's jaw tightened. "I'm still angry about what happened." "Ryan, drop it." "I can't drop it." "It's over." "No, it isn't." "Yes, it is." Ryan shook his head. "She humiliated you." "It's done." "That doesn't make it okay." "I know," I said quietly. We walked in silence for a moment. Ryan spoke again. "Did she try talking to you?" "No." "Good." "Why good?" "Because I might say something I regret." I forced a small smile. "You're a loyal friend." "Of course I am." That evening I sat at home staring at my phone. Sophia walked into the living room. "You look miserable," she said. "Thanks." "What happened?" "Nothing." "Daniel." "I'm fine." She sat beside me. "Did something happen with Emily?" I stayed quiet. Sophia studied my face. "Oh no." "What?" "You confessed, didn't you?" I nodded slowly. "And?" I swallowed. She laughed. Sophia's expression changed instantly. "She what?" "In the cafe." "In front of people." Sophia leaned forward. "Tell me exactly what happened." "It doesn't matter." "It matters to me." I took a breath. She called her friends. Sophia frowned. "Why?" "To show them." "To show them what?" "That I liked her." Sophia's voice became softer. "Did they laugh too?" "Yes." She shook her head slowly. "That's cruel." I should have expected it. "No," she said firmly. "You shouldn't." I looked down. "I feel stupid." "You're not stupid." I confessed in public. "You were brave." "Doesn't feel brave." Sophia placed her hand on my shoulder. "Daniel, listen to me." "Okay." "Someone laughing at your feelings says more about them than you." I stayed silent. She continued. "You didn't do anything wrong. Maybe I aimed too high." "Stop saying that." "It's true." "No," Sophia replied. "Respect isn't about levels." I sighed. "I just want to forget it." "You will." "When?" "Soon." The next week felt strange. I barely spoke in class. I avoided eye contact with Emily. One afternoon I stayed behind after economics lecture. I packed my bag slowly. A voice interrupted me. "Daniel." I looked up. Professor Alan Brooks stood near the desk. "Yes." "Do you have a moment?" "Sure." He gestured toward a chair. "Sit down." I sat quietly. Professor Brooks studied me carefully. "You've been unusually quiet." "I'm always quiet." "Not this quiet." I shrugged. "Just tired." He folded his hands. "Your participation used to be thoughtful." "I didn't realize you noticed." "I notice everything in my classroom." I looked away. "Did something happen?" "Not really." Professor Brooks waited patiently. The silence felt uncomfortable. Finally I spoke. "I embarrassed myself." "How?" "I confessed to someone." "And?" She laughed. Professor Brooks nodded slowly. "In public?" "Yes." "That must have hurt." "It did." He leaned back in his chair. "Daniel, may I tell you something?" "Of course." "Pain is interesting." That's a strange sentence. He smiled slightly. Pain can destroy you, he said calmly. I listened carefully. Or, he continued, pain can rebuild you. I frowned. What does that mean? It means difficult moments shape us. Right now it just feels awful. That's normal. So what should I do? Professor Brooks looked directly at me. Decide what this moment will mean for you. I don't understand. You can let humiliation define you. Or you can grow from it. I thought about that quietly. Professor Brooks continued. Everyone experiences rejection. Not like that. Sometimes worse. I exhaled slowly. It still plays in my head. The laughter. Yes. That will fade. When? When you stop giving it power. I looked at the floor. I don't feel strong right now. You don't need to feel strong. Then what? You just need to keep moving. I nodded slowly. Professor Brooks stood up. One moment doesn't decide your value. Thank you, I said quietly. He smiled. Next class, I expect you to speak again. I'll try. No, he corrected gently. You will. I left the classroom thinking about his words. Pain can destroy you, or rebuild you. As I walked across campus, the memory of the cafe still hurt. But for the first time since that day, I asked myself a different question. Will I let that moment define me? I took a slow breath. No, I whispered to myself. And that quiet decision felt like the first step forward. Ryan dropped his backpack on the library table and stared at me. You're different, he said. How? You've been studying for 3 hours. That's normal. For you. Ryan laughed. No way. I'm trying something new. What's that? Improving my life. Ryan leaned back in his chair. Wow. What? I didn't expect you to say that. Why? Because 2 weeks ago you looked like a sad movie character. I shrugged. Maybe I got tired of feeling sorry for myself. Ryan nodded slowly. I like this version of you. Good. He pointed at my notebook. You're even taking notes properly. Don't sound so shocked. I'm proud, he said dramatically. Relax. Ryan leaned forward again. So tell me the truth. What? Are you still thinking about Emily? I paused. Less. Less. Much less. Ryan smiled. That's progress. I closed my notebook. I realized something. What? Chasing someone who disrespects you is pointless. Ryan snapped his fingers. Yes. I wish I understood that earlier. Better late than never. Later that afternoon, I sat alone in the library again. A girl placed her books on the table across from me. Is this seat free? She asked. Yeah, I said. Thanks. She opened her notebook and sighed. Statistics is destroying my brain. I smiled slightly. Same. She looked at my notes. Wow. What? Your notes are organized. That's new. She laughed. I'm Clara, by the way. Daniel. Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you too. Clara looked at my notebook again. Do you mind explaining this formula? Sure. I moved my notebook closer. It's actually simpler than it looks. Please tell me you're right. Look here, I said, pointing at the page. You start with this part. Clara listened carefully. Oh, she said after a moment. That makes sense. See? You just saved my life. I doubt that. Academically, she corrected. I chuckled. Clara smiled. You explain things clearly. Thanks. She tapped her pen on the table. Would you mind studying together sometimes? I wouldn't mind. Good, she said, because I clearly need help. Over the next few weeks, Clara and I studied together often. One evening Ryan joined us in the library. He looked between us with a grin. Well, well. What? I asked. Daniel has a study partner. Clara smiled politely. I'm Clara. Ryan, he replied. He leaned toward me and whispered loudly. She seems nice. I can hear you, Clara said. Ryan laughed. Good. Clara closed her book. Daniel explained statistics better than our professor. That's a big compliment, I said. Ryan raised his eyebrows. Look at you, Mr. Smart. Stop. Clara glanced between us. You two argue like brothers. We basically are, Ryan said. A few minutes later, Ryan pulled me aside near the bookshelf. Okay, he said quietly. What? You seem happier. I think I am. Is it because of studying or because of Clara? Both maybe. Ryan smirked. She actually listens when you talk. That's true. And she doesn't laugh at you. That's also true. Ryan nodded approvingly. Major improvement. Later, Clara and I walked outside the library together. The evening air felt calm. Clara spoke first. You seem quieter than most people. I've always been like that. I don't mind. Really? Quiet people usually think more. That's comforting. She smiled. Can I ask you something? Sure. Why did you suddenly become so focused on studying? I hesitated. Long story. I like long stories. I sighed softly. I embarrassed myself a while ago. How? I confessed to someone. And? She laughed. Clara's expression changed. That's awful. It happens. No, she said gently. It shouldn't. I looked at the ground. I guess it pushed me to change. Clara nodded slowly. Sometimes painful moments push us forward. That's what my professor said. Sounds like a wise professor. He is. Clara smiled again. For what it's worth, I think honesty is brave. Even if it ends badly. Especially then. We walked quietly for a moment. Clara then said something simple. I'm glad we became friends. I felt a small warmth in my chest. Me too. The next day, Ryan caught me smiling while studying. Look at you, he said. What? You're peaceful. That's a strange observation. No, Ryan said. It's a good one. I closed my notebook. I stopped thinking about revenge. Good. I just want to become better. Ryan pointed at me proudly. You're becoming someone stronger. Maybe. No, maybe, he said. Definitely. I looked around the quiet library. For the first time in months, my mind felt calm. Not angry. Not embarrassed. Just focused. Ryan nudged my shoulder. Daniel. Yeah. I'm proud of you. I smiled slightly. Thanks. And in that quiet moment, I realized something important. Moving forward felt much better than looking back. Ryan slid into the cafeteria seat across from me and leaned closer. Have you heard the news? He whispered. What news? About Emily. I paused with my fork. What about her? Ryan looked around like he was about to reveal a secret. Jason betrayed her. I frowned. What do you mean? He posted their private messages online. I blinked. You're serious? Completely serious. That's messed up. Ryan nodded. Yeah, but everyone is talking about it. I looked across the cafeteria without thinking. Emily was sitting alone at a table near the window. No Olivia. No Jason. Just her. Ryan followed my gaze. See, he said quietly. That's her. She looked different. Quieter. Her shoulders were slightly hunched. I looked back at my food. Ryan kept talking. Apparently they were dating secretly. I didn't know that. Most people didn't. So what happened? Ryan shrugged. They argued. And Jason decided to be petty. I shook my head slowly. That's awful. Ryan leaned forward. Honestly. What? It's karma. I didn't answer immediately. Ryan continued. Remember the cafe? I remember. She laughed at you. Yes. And now look. I glanced at Emily again. Students at another table were whispering while looking at her. Ryan noticed my silence. You should feel satisfied. Why? Because the universe is paying her back. I stirred my drink slowly. I don't feel satisfied. Ryan looked surprised. Really? Really? Not even a little. I shook my head. No. Ryan leaned back. That's unexpected. Why? Because if someone humiliated me like that, I'd celebrate this moment. I used to think like that. What changed? I looked toward the window again. Emily stared at her phone quietly. I guess time changed things. Ryan watched me carefully. You're not angry anymore. I was angry before. And now? Now I just feel distant. Ryan tapped the table. That's interesting. Why? Because distance means you moved on. I thought about that. Maybe. A group of students walked past our table. One of them whispered loudly, "Did you see those screenshots?" Another replied, "Yeah, it's embarrassing." Ryan shook his head. People love gossip. Always. Ryan looked toward Emily again. She lost her entire friend group. Looks like it. Olivia isn't even sitting with her. I noticed that too. Ryan spoke again. You know what's funny? What? Those same people who laughed at you are now laughing at her. I sighed softly. That cycle never ends. Ryan raised an eyebrow. You sound philosophical. I had a good teacher. Professor Brooks. Exactly. Ryan nodded slowly. Pain can rebuild you. Something like that. Ryan leaned forward again. So be honest. What? If Emily walked over right now and apologized, what would you do? I thought about it carefully. I'd listen. Just listen. Yes. No dramatic speech. No. No revenge moment. I shook my head. I don't want revenge. Ryan looked impressed. That's growth. I smiled slightly. I think so. Clara suddenly appeared beside our table. Hey, she said. Hey, I replied. Mind if I join you? Of course not. She sat down and looked between us. You two look serious. Ryan answered immediately. Campus drama. Clara groaned. Oh no. It's about Emily, Ryan added. Clara glanced across the cafeteria and immediately understood. Oh. You heard about it? Ryan asked. Everyone has. Clara looked at me. Are you okay? Yeah. You don't look upset. I'm not. Clara nodded slowly. That's good. Ryan pointed at me proudly. He has evolved. Clara laughed softly. Into what? A calm philosopher. I'm still just Daniel. Clara smiled. That's a good thing. We continued eating quietly for a moment. Ryan suddenly whispered again. Look. I glanced toward the window. Emily stood up slowly and walked toward the exit. People kept whispering as she passed. Clara sighed. That must feel horrible. Ryan shrugged. She wasn't very kind before. That doesn't mean she deserves public humiliation, Clara replied. I stayed quiet. Clara looked at me again. What are you thinking? I took a breath. I'm thinking the universe works in strange ways. Ryan nodded. Very strange. Clara added softly, sometimes balance happens naturally. I watched the door where Emily had just left. For a moment, I remembered the cafe. The laughter. The embarrassment. But the feeling inside me was different now. Not anger. Not sadness. Just distance. Ryan noticed my expression. You really moved on, he said. I nodded slowly. Yes. Clara smiled. That's powerful. Ryan raised his drink. To personal growth. Clara laughed and lifted her cup. To growth. I lifted mine too. To moving forward. And for the first time since that painful day in the cafe, I realized something clearly. Karma didn't need my help. The world had a way of balancing itself. I stepped out of the library into the cool evening air. Clara had left 10 minutes earlier. Ryan had texted me. Still studying. I replied, just finished. As I walked down the campus path, a voice stopped me. Daniel. I froze. I recognized the voice instantly. I turned slowly. Emily stood a few steps away. For a moment neither of us spoke. Hi, she said quietly. Hi. She looked nervous. Her hands were clasped together. Can we talk? I hesitated. Sure. Emily glanced around the quiet campus. Thank you. We stood near a bench under a dim streetlight. She didn't look at me at first. I've been wanting to talk to you for a while, she said. Okay. Emily took a slow breath. I owe you an apology. I stayed silent. She continued. What I did in the cafe was horrible. I watched her carefully. I shouldn't have laughed. Her voice trembled slightly. I shouldn't have called my friends over. I nodded once. No, she said quickly. You don't understand. I do. I humiliated you. Yes. Emily finally looked at my face. I'm sorry. The words hung quietly between us. I didn't respond immediately. Emily spoke again. I've replayed that moment in my head many times. I know that feeling. She nodded slowly. At the time, I thought it was funny. Why? Emily looked down. Because Olivia and Jason were watching. So? I wanted to impress them. I frowned slightly. You impressed them by hurting someone. She swallowed. I know how terrible that sounds. It is terrible. Emily nodded again. I realize that now. The wind moved softly through the trees. She continued speaking. When Jason posted those messages online. I heard about that. It destroyed everything. Her voice sounded tired. People started laughing at me. I stayed quiet. Emily continued. Friends stopped talking to me. I noticed. Olivia disappeared too. I sighed softly. That must have been hard. Emily laughed bitterly. It was humiliating. She paused. And then I remembered what I did to you. Neither of us spoke for a few seconds. Emily's voice became softer. I finally understood how you must have felt. I looked at her calmly. It wasn't a great day. I know. Emily rubbed her hands together nervously. I wanted to apologize earlier. What stopped you? Fear. Of what? That you'd hate me. I thought about that question. I don't hate you. Emily looked surprised. You don't? No. Why not? I shrugged slightly. Hate is exhausting. Emily gave a small, sad smile. That's fair. She took another breath. Daniel, I'm truly sorry. I looked at her face. For the first time since I met her, she looked uncertain. I acted cruelly, she continued. I cared more about my image than your feelings. That's honest. I regret it. Her voice cracked slightly. I really do. I stayed quiet again. Emily asked carefully, Can you forgive me? The question hung in the air. I looked up at the night sky for a moment. Then I looked back at her. Forgiveness is complicated. I understand. But I don't carry anger anymore. Emily listened closely. So, is that a yes? It means I moved on. She nodded slowly. That's fair. I spent months changing my life. I noticed, she said quietly. You did. You seem different. I am. Emily gave a small smile. You look confident now. That took time. I'm glad you found happiness. I appreciated the sincerity in her voice. Emily shifted nervously. I'm not asking for friendship. Good. She laughed softly. I probably don't deserve that. I didn't say that. But I understand if you don't want it. I considered her words carefully. Right now, distance feels comfortable. She nodded. I expected that. Emily looked relieved anyway. Thank you for listening. You're welcome. And thank you for not yelling at me. I thought about it months ago. She smiled weakly. I probably deserved it. Maybe. Emily glanced toward the library building. I should go. Okay. She hesitated one last time. I hope your life keeps getting better. Thank you. And Daniel. Yes. I really am sorry. I believed her. I know. Emily nodded slowly. Then she turned and walked down the path. I watched her disappear into the darkness. My phone buzzed in my pocket. Ryan texted again. Still alive? I typed back. Yeah. He replied instantly. Everything okay? I thought about the conversation for a moment. Then I wrote. Yeah. Something unexpected happened. What? I smiled slightly before typing the final message. Emily apologized. Ryan replied 3 seconds later. What? I laughed quietly. But inside my heart, something felt peaceful. Not victory. Not revenge. Just closure. I sat alone outside the quiet campus library steps, turning Emily's apology over and over inside my head. Her trembling voice still echoed in my ears, asking for forgiveness. I breathed slowly, trying to understand what I truly felt. Ryan dropped beside me and nudged my shoulder. You look like you're solving the meaning of life, he said. What's going on inside that head of yours? I sighed. Emily apologized tonight, I said quietly. Ryan blinked. Wait, seriously? The same Emily who humiliated you in front of everyone? Yeah, I replied. The same one. Ryan leaned back. So what did you say? Nothing yet, I admitted. I just listened. Ryan frowned. You mean you didn't explode or something? I shook my head. I thought I would, but I didn't. I just stood there while she talked. Ryan stuttered me. That sounds dangerous. Quiet Medi usually means something big is happening. I laughed softly. Maybe something big already happened. Ryan crossed his arms. Okay, philosopher, explain. I looked toward the dark windows of the library. When she apologized, I expected anger to rush back. And? Ryan asked. It didn't, I said. I just felt distant, like I was remembering someone else's story. Ryan whistled quietly. That's actually impressive. Clara told me something last month. I continued. She said, pain can either poison you or sharpen you. Ryan nodded. Sounds like Clara. I smiled faintly. Ryan, everything that happened pushed me to change. You did change, he said. You're calmer. Stronger. I breathed slowly. Clara helped me believe in myself again. True, Ryan said. Sophia helped too, I added. She reminded me I wasn't worthless. Ryan smiled. You built a good team. I nodded. Exactly. Ryan tilted his head. So what happens now? I hesitated. Emily asked if we could start over. Ryan raised his eyebrows. Wow, that's bold. Yeah, I said quietly. Ryan leaned closer. And your answer? I stared at my hands for a moment. I told her something simple. What? Ryan asked. I remembered the moment clearly. I said, Emily, I forgave you a long time ago. Ryan blinked. That's it. Not exactly, I said. Ryan waited silently. I also told her, forgiveness doesn't mean returning to the past. Ryan nodded slowly. Then I said, I moved forward, and I can't walk backward again. Ryan exhaled. That's actually powerful. I shrugged. It just felt honest. Ryan looked at me. How did she react? I remembered her lowered eyes. She nodded and whispered, I understand. Ryan stayed quiet for a second. Do you feel bad? I shook my head. No. I feel peaceful. Ryan smiled. That's rare for you. I laughed. Maybe growth looks like this. Ryan stretched his arms. So the villain apologized, the hero moved on, and life continues. I chuckled. Something like that. Ryan stood. I'm proud of you, man. I stood beside him. Thanks. Ryan pointed toward the campus path. Come on. Let's get coffee. I nodded. Sounds perfect. We started walking slowly under the quiet night sky. My chest felt lighter than it had in years. Ryan glanced at me. So you're really okay? I answered honestly. Yes. Ryan grinned. Then the story finally ends well. I shook my head. No, Ryan. No, he asked. I smiled at the road ahead. This isn't the end. Ryan raised an eyebrow. I said, this is the beginning of my real life. Ryan laughed. That sounds dramatic. I replied, maybe, but it's true. Ryan said, so what does this new life look like? I thought for a moment. Peaceful. Focused. Honest. Ryan nodded. Good goals. I added, and free from old ghosts. Ryan smiled. Including Emily. I answered, including Emily. Ryan bumped my shoulder. Then tonight deserves coffee and celebration. I laughed. Don't get too excited. Ryan said, too late. I felt the cool wind against my face and realized something simple but powerful. I was no longer the boy trapped in humiliation. I was someone new, someone calm, someone free. Ryan asked, what are you thinking now? I answered, I'm thinking the past finally released me. Ryan nodded slowly. Then keep walking forward. I smiled. I will. Ryan said, promise me something. I asked, what? Ryan replied, never let anyone shrink you again. I answered, I promise. Ryan grinned. Good. Now hurry up before the cafe closes. I laughed and followed him down the glowing path, feeling lighter with every step forward into tomorrow and into the quiet freedom I had finally earned tonight at last again. I walked slowly across the campus pathway as the evening air cooled around me. The sky glowed orange above the buildings, and I felt strangely calm. A few months ago, this same path felt heavy with memories. Now it felt like a road leading somewhere new. Ryan jogged up beside me. Look at you, he said, grinning. Walking like the main character of a movie. I laughed. What does that even mean? Ryan pointed at me. It means your life finally looks like a happy ending. I shook my head. It's not an ending. Ryan smirked. You always say that. It's the truth, I replied. It feels more like a beginning. Ryan crossed his arms dramatically. Ladies and gentlemen, Mehdi the philosopher has returned. I nudged him lightly. Shut up. Ryan chuckled. I'm serious though. Remember how you used to walk around campus looking like the world ended? I sighed. Yeah, I remember. Ryan looked at me carefully. You're different now. I feel different, I admitted. Ryan asked, so what changed the most? I thought for a moment. My self-respect. Ryan nodded slowly. That's a powerful answer. I continued walking while thinking about everything that happened. Ryan broke the silence. Do you ever regret falling in love with Emily? I paused before answering. No. Ryan looked surprised. Really? Really, I said. If that never happened, I wouldn't have grown this much. Ryan rubbed his chin. That's deep. I'm serious, I said. The humiliation hurt me, but it also forced me to rebuild myself. Ryan said, so the worst moment became the turning point. Exactly, I replied. Ryan laughed. That sounds like a motivational speech. I smiled. Maybe life secretly teaches lessons that way. Ryan pointed ahead. Speaking of lessons, here comes Clara. I looked up and saw Clara walking toward us with a stack of books in her arms. She smiled when she reached us. Are you two arguing about life again? Ryan raised his hands. I'm innocent. Mehdi started it. I laughed softly. Clara looked at me. How are you feeling today? I answered honestly. Peaceful. Clara nodded. That's good to hear. Ryan leaned toward her. You should know something. Clara asked, what? Ryan said, "Your friend here turned into a wise philosopher." Clara laughed quietly. I always knew he had that inside him. I shrugged. Don't encourage him. Ryan grinned. Too late. Clara looked at me again. You've been working hard lately. Yeah, I said. I'm focusing on my goals. Clara smiled. I'm proud of you. Her words warmed my chest. Ryan clapped once. Look at this friendship moment. I should charge tickets. Clara rolled her eyes. Ryan, you're impossible. Ryan bowed slightly. Thank you. We started walking together down the campus path. Clara asked softly, Do you still think about Emily? I considered the question carefully. Sometimes, I admitted. Ryan glanced at me. But it doesn't control me anymore, I continued. Clara nodded. That's what healing looks like. Ryan said, So the villain officially lost. I laughed. This wasn't about winning or losing. Ryan looked confused. Then what was it about? I answered slowly, respecting myself. Ryan scratched his head. That's less dramatic than revenge. Maybe, I said. But it's stronger. Clara smiled. He's right. Ryan sighed. Fine. You two win. We reached the open lawn in the center of campus. Students sat on the grass, talking and laughing. Ryan stretched his arms. You know what this reminds me of? I asked, What? Ryan said, The ending scene of a movie where the hero walks away from the past. Clara laughed. That's actually accurate. I looked around the campus quietly. Ryan pointed at me again. See? Even your dramatic silence proves my point. I shook my head with a smile. Clara asked gently, What are you thinking about? I answered honestly. I'm proud of who I became. Ryan nodded. You should be. I continued walking slowly across the grass. Ryan said, You know the best part. What? I asked. Ryan grinned. The guy who once laughed at your dreams would never recognize this version of you. I chuckled. That's probably true. Clara said softly, Growth changes everything. I looked ahead at the long campus walkway stretching into the evening light. Ryan asked, So what's next for you? I answered confidently, I keep moving forward. Ryan smiled. No looking back. I shook my head. No looking back. Clara asked, Not even a little. I smiled calmly, only to remember how far I came. Ryan laughed loudly. Now that definitely sounds like a movie ending. I breathed in the cool evening air and felt something steady inside my chest. The humiliation that once broke me had become the moment that rebuilt me. Ryan nudged my shoulder again. So what's the final lesson, philosopher? I looked ahead and answered quietly. The best revenge isn't hurting someone back. Ryan waited. Clara listened silently. I finished with a calm smile. The best revenge is simply living a better life.